Right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a short little intro as everybody kind of trickles in. I was informed we'll probably have a little over 20 or so people show up today. My name's Colby Carter. I'm an LSAC ambassador. I've been with LSAC for a little over 5 years now. Previous to this role, I was managing a team that dealt with the law schools from Texas West, including Australia. And previous to that, I was in law school admissions at a law school on the East Coast and then the West Coast as well. So as we go through, feel free to utilize the Q&A or chat option. I'll be trying to monitor the questions and answers that come through as I present. I'm going to give a nice little overview of LSAC, our services, applying to law school, etc. And then at the end, what I'm going to try and do is give you guys a firsthand look at the CAS report that the law schools see. And feel free, if I'm going too fast, too slow, if you need more in-depth information on a section, again, just plug it into the Q&A section, and feel free to utilize the anonymous option as well. But we'll go ahead, and it looks like we have a decent amount of people, so I will start sharing the presentation. So like I said, thank you for joining us today for the LSAC services. What I kind of wanted to point out was, the conventional digital LSAT was around 3 hours. There's 4 multiple choice scored sections, and those are 35 minutes each. Those questions can range anywhere from a total of 100 to 102. And then there was one unscored multiple choice section that was also 35 minutes. And of course, the unscored writing sample. Basically, right now, let's see, there we go. Right now, for people that are taking the LSAT-Flex, it is one less section of the logical reasoning, and there is no experimental section or the unscored multiple choice. So the LSAT-Flex will be 2 hours with no breaks, and it will be just the 3 scored multiple choice sections for 35 minutes each, or if you have any adjusted time, that'll be that will be in the timer for your test. And there is still the unscored writing sample. But again, that is separate. And a lot of people that have been taking the LSAT-Flex, since the process for the Flex and the writing sample is very similar as to what's required, a lot of people have just been doing the writing sample, which is just another 35 minutes shortly after they take the LSAT-Flex. Now, as far as the digital LSAT features. You can see any of these when you go to LawHub, but when we're doing the digital tablets, we're utilizing the Microsoft Goes, and this allows everybody to utilize the tap the letter to make your selection. You can also utilize the rule out option. You can mark any of the questions that you see or go through for review. And then there's kind of 2 options. You can use the next or previous toggle to obviously go to the next or previous question, or along the bottom, you'll see a list of numbers, and you can click on those if you want to hop around. There will also be a timer. This timer will display the time that you're allowed for each individual section. As long as that time is above 5 minutes, you can make it disappear, reappear, and then at the last 5 minutes, you will receive a 5-minute warning, and that time will stay in the right-hand corner and have a little red box around it. Now, as far as the online LSAT-Flex, a lot of the requirements are very similar to the digital LSAT in person. You can use scratch paper. You are limited to 5 blank sheets, so front and back, that's 10 pages. People asked if they can use lined paper. It's going to be up to the discretion of the proctor, so I highly recommend, if you can secure blank sheets of paper, to utilize that. You can still use a number 2 pencil. Still, mechanical pencils are not allowed. For the LSAT Flex, you can bring a highlighter. It'll obviously just be for your notations, as there is the highlighting and underlying feature in the LSAT Flex, as well as the digital LSAT. And again, you can bring an eraser, pencil sharpener, tissues, and your beverage drink. Just make sure that it is still less than the 20 ounces that's allotted. Now back to the writing sample, because it is decoupled, what we do is on your lsac.org account, when you sign in, there will be, and you sign up for an LSAT test, there will be a tab included that says LSAT Writing. Now, when you scroll about halfway down that page, there'll be a Get Acquainted piece. If you click on that, it'll walk you through the steps that you will do for the live writing sample. So there is some software that you have to download. You can uninstall it at any time. So if you don't want to keep it on your computer, you can install it, run through the practice or the live test, and uninstall it when you're done. The software for the Get Acquainted and the live are exactly the same, so you only have to download one version. Again, the writing sample is 35 minutes, and it's the day, time, location that you choose. What's nice is now the law schools have the ability to really read what each of the test taker is writing, since it'll be typed instead of written. Also, there will be a spell check option. It will underline any words that it feels is misspelled, as well as there's a button for spell check. Another great feature is the cut, copy, paste. Because the written writing sample, a lot of people, you're trying to get your thoughts out on paper as quickly as possible. So sometimes you want to take your third paragraph and move it to the top, or a top paragraph to the bottom, etc. So a lot of people were circling, drawing, and it became more of a diagram. So this way you'll be able to format and make your response look and feel the same way that you want it to. You can utilize a couple format features. There's bold, underline, indentation as well. So in regards to preparing for the LSAT, for people that are looking to kind of get ahead of the game, there is Khan Academy. This is a free service that we work directly with them. And then of course there is the official LSAT, the Law Hub, which is practice tests that we have digitized. Now, to access Law Hub, you do need to have an lsac.org account. So if you already have one, you can use that same username and password. If not, you can create one, and it's simple as entering name, email, creating a password, etc., and then you can access the Law Hub. There are two different versions of Law Hub. One is in Law Hub for the practice test, the LSAT Prep. The LSAT Prep is the free service, which gives you 2 full practice tests. And then if at any time you want to upgrade to the Prep Plus, it gives you access to over 60 tests, and the fee is $99 for a 1-year subscription. So the main reason why we have you create an account to utilize the prep program, the LSAT prep test, is because we will log your history for you. So if at any time you pause the exam, your test, you want to come back, if you want to kind of view the first time you took it versus the second time you took it, each time you start a new test, it'll add a new line under that prep test. And again, the 2 free ones are test 71 and 73. Once you open up one of the tests, you'll have 2 choices. One is a self-paced mode and the other is the exam mode. Very self-explanatory, but for each of those, you can enter how many minutes you want per section. So if you're in exam mode, this would be where you would put 35 minutes if you're under the standard time. If you have any adjustment to time, you can make that adjustment here. As far as the self-paced mode, you can put anything in here up to 480 minutes. So this way you can kind of take it one section at a time, as well as one question at a time. And I see a question, do law schools see the practice ones? No, this whole Law Hub is strictly for you. I'm sure we could get some we have analytics on how many people have signed up, how many tests have started, etc. But none of this information is being logged into your account for the law schools to see or utilize. So just know it's really for you, and we're just using that service so you can come back and kind of pick up where you left off. One thing that I want to point out with that is that once you start the test, you can see up here, there's the time and it'll count down. But once you make a selection, you have an option to show answer. You also have an option to pause. So if you get interrupted or you have to walk away, you can pause. Each of these will give you a warning saying, once you show the answer, you can't go back to it or you can't turn it off. Once you pause the section, it says, you cannot pause during a live exam, just be aware. So if you show the answer, once you click on show answer, it'll put a box around the correct response. And then that also allows for you to not update this page anymore for this question. So you can no longer highlight, you can no longer underline, you can't erase any markings you made. You also could not change your response. Now you could go to question 2, make your response there, highlight and everything. And as long as you don't show your answer for number 2, you can make any adjustments that you want. So again, you can take this question 1, 2, 3, or you can do the entire section, and then once you're done, there is a complete section option. Once you select the complete section option, it will show you an overview of that section and how many you got, which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong. It would display what you put down and then what the correct response is. And then for the practice portion option of the test, once you finish a section, you can either go from section 1 to section 2, 3, 4, etc., or you can jump around. You can do section 1, section 4, section 2, section 3. Again, if you're taking an actual test, you will not be able to jump around. For instance, if you are doing the LSAT-Flex or digital, you do have to go from section 1 to section 2 to section 3. But do note that each of those sections may be different from the person, from someone else that you know that's taking the test. So even though everybody is taking the same test, and you're working on section 1, your section 1 could be an analytical reasoning, and your neighbor could be doing section 1 for reading comprehension. To talk about Khan Academy, one of the main reasons why we wanted to go this route was to have a free practice test study guide out there available for everybody. This has our official test questions. It has the same test questions that are in Law Hub, that are in the books that we sell, that are in the questions that our licensees use for their prep test material. And then it basically has you start out with a practice exam that you can either do a full exam or a mini exam. And what's nice is it'll give you that diagnostic score, and then you can put in the score that you want to achieve and the days and times that you're available, and it'll start building a study guide specifically for you. So as you start doing well in one section, it'll start shortening the questions in that section. And if you need more help or in other sections, it'll start lengthening those. Once it feels like you have a certain part or percentage, basically that you're comfortable with it, it will give you an exam for that. You can either skip the exam and keep practicing, or you can take that and move on. There is a question about, can we go back to different sections after it's done? So yes, with LawHub, anytime you've completed a section, you can go back to review it. Also, if you wanted, you could start that whole test all over again. And then if you wanted to work on a specific section, you could go back to test 71, start new test, and go directly to section 3 or section 1, 2, etc. The only thing is, if you utilize that show answer option, that will not allow you to make any updates for that specific question. Some of the services and web features that we have. So with the lsac.org account that you create, there is a wealth of information here. Sometimes it's a little too much information. I recommend using Google search or the search functionality in lsac.org if you are unable to kind of find some of the information that you're looking for. Some of the things like that are coming up is the forums. So as you know, with a lot of the states regulations that are going on, we have canceled the July forum. We're moving a lot of forums to virtual, at least for September, October, and November. So do be aware that those will be going on. It'll be a great option still to talk to schools on an individual basis. So do look for that information that's coming out. I have a question about, do we have to purchase a Microsoft Go Pro tablet in order to take the test for the LSAT Flex, or will that be provided? For the LSAT Flex, it's your device. So as long as it meets the requirements, you can utilize your own PC, your own laptop, whatever meets the specs. And it does work with both Mac and PC. If you want to see what those requirements are, you can go to ProctorU, and they will have the requirements that are listed. Because basically what's going to happen for anybody that's taking the LSAT Flex is you'll receive an email from LSAC. It'll say, now you can create your account with ProctorU. You can then go to ProctorU, create your account. You have to install an add-on or something to your web browser. The web browser that they prefer is Chrome or Firefox. I know people that utilize Mac like to use Safari, but people with Safari have been having some issues with that. So if at all possible, I would stick with Chrome or Firefox if you could. So in regards to the credential assembly service, this is where we basically collect all of your information, evaluate it, compile it, and then send it out to all of the law schools that you apply to. Note that this service basically collects your letters of recommendation, your transcripts, any tests that you take, as well as writing samples. And the registration fee for this service is $195. And then for each report that goes out to a school, it's an additional $45. And I see a question about, what is the benefits of taking LSAT Flex versus the LSAT? It's going to be an individual preference. Right now, the LSAT Flex came out because of this specific situation that we're all in. You know, we wanted to make sure that people that were planning on taking the test could still take the test and get a score, so that if they wanted to apply to a law school towards the end of their application cycle, they could, or if this was the only time when they could take the test to help out with the fall for the next cycle, we just wanted to make sure that it was available. Do note that we've had multiple conversations with law schools, as well as webinars, presentations to you guys, to LSAC, to pre-law advisors, to really discuss how are law schools accepting the LSAT Flex score. And everybody's been saying that they are treating LSAT Flex scores the same as the conventional LSAT. So just keep that in mind. There have been some questions about, will law schools accept it for the following application cycle? that discussion hasn't come up with the law schools yet. Right now, they're really just kind of focused on getting everybody in, having orientation for this upcoming fall. But I'm sure once that class has been matriculated, we'll kind of get to that, and that'll be a big discussion, I'm sure, during the fall recruitment or during our forum times. So keep that in mind. Let's see. So in regards to the CAS report, we kind of categorize things into different sections. There's the academic summary, and I highly recommend, because everybody knows that we do our own evaluation of the GPA. For the majority of the people, it doesn't change their GPA, or it doesn't even change that much. But when we receive the transcripts, it actually is evaluated by a live person. It's not done by a computer, whether it's a mail-in transcript or an electronic. There's no other functionality added to it, so errors could occur. So definitely check your lsac.org account to see what GPA we've calculated for you compared to what GPA your institution. And if there is a large gap, you may want to contact candidate services to kind of see where that discrepancy is. Also on the CAS report, we'll go ahead and label any kind of misconducts, irregularities, and again, the LSAT score, your absentees, cancellations. Now, do remember with the absentees or cancellations, that's really for people that don't show up the day of the test. So if you miss withdrawing from the exam before the deadline, that's when it's going to get marked on your report. And then, of course, like we talked about, the GPA, letters of recommendation, if you applied to that school, etc. Let's see. How early in advance should low-income students apply to get registration fees cheaper? So they're actually, LSAC has a fee waiver, and I forget if I'm talking about that today, but in regards to your question, I highly recommend that if anyone feels that they could even be close to being approved for an LSAC fee waiver, that they apply. All of the information is online. It might be hard to find. I always recommend everybody use Google and just say LSAC fee waiver application. It's usually the first or second option that comes up. It'll show you all those requirements so you can submit that information to us. Do know that the fee waiver process for the first run is very systematic. So it goes down to the penny whether or not you will be approved or denied. The thing is, if you get denied, you get the option to appeal that decision. This is when you get to submit additional information and explanations. So you can say, yes, I understand that you feel that I make X amount of dollars, but actually I'm supporting my grandparents, or I have this and I have those expenditures. So yes, you see X amount of dollars, but what actually goes into my pocket is Y. Then that appeals process gets your information put in front of a live person. So not just an LSAC representative, but we also have teams from the law school's admissions office. So they review those appeals with us, and then a decision is made. So highly recommend filling out that information, and if for whatever reason it is denied, appeal that process. So when you go to lsac.org, you basically put in your username and password. And what's nice here is all of the member law schools have their applications here. You can go ahead, even if you're looking 2-3 years out or even a year out. What's great is, for the most part, law schools do not change that much from year to year in their applications. So you could go in here, add them to your profile, and see what questions they have. You know, what are they asking for their personal statement, their resume? Are they allowing you to write any addendums? Do you get to write a diversity statement? All of that stuff will be laid out. So you could come in here at any time and search through those to see what's going to be required so you can start collecting that. And yes, I am going to talk about the LSAC fee waiver. This is basically showing if you were approved for the fee waiver, you get 2 LSAT tests, the CAS registration fee, 6 law school reports, 1-year subscription to the Prep Plus, so that's the 60 plus tests that are online, and then there's a conditional approval process as well as the appeal process that we went over. So what's nice is this is probably close to $1,000 worth of information. So do know that the LSAC fee waiver is good for 2 years. So you can utilize any of this information during that 2-year period. And if for any reason you have not matriculated into a law school when your fee waiver expires, you can apply for that LSAC fee waiver again. And I recommend getting this information in ASAP, because as soon as you get approved, you can start signing up for the LSAT, the CAS registration, utilizing the Prep Plus. Plus, it is 2 years from when you are approved. So just keep that in mind. One of the other tools that we have at lsac.org is the undergraduate GPA and LSAT score search tool. So what this does is basically you can put in your current GPA or a GPA you think you'll have by graduation, as well as an LSAT score that maybe you took with a diagnostic. If you have an official score or the score you wish you think you're going to achieve, and then you can utilize the search feature. If you just do the general search, it's going to give you a list of all of the ABA law schools, and as you can kind of see here, what it's showing you is their median score and then the score that you put into the search tool, and then the likelihood of you getting admitted to that school. And remember, this is strictly just off of LSAT and GPA. This does not include or incorporate any of the soft skills from your resume, activities, etc. Just a strict LSAT GPA comparison. Another option for people that are thinking about going to law school is the candidate referral service. So this service is an opt-in service. You can opt in, opt out at any point, even if you're looking to go to law school in 5 years. You can create your account, your lsac.org account now, opt in, and this allows all of the law schools to search on you and your information. So they can do searches by your LSAT, your undergrad GPA, age, areas of interest of law, your demographics, zip code. So if they're coming to your area, they can reach out and say, we're going to be in this area, stop by, talk to us. Sometimes law schools will utilize this information to send you an email about scholarships that are coming up, other admit events, as well as prospective student days, etc. But do know that once you opt in to all 200 plus law schools. The catch is that all the law schools obviously have an unsubscribed option. So if you receive an email from a school that you know you're definitely not interested in, you can unsubscribe from them, but you have to do it individually. There is not a way to just opt into the schools that you're interested in. So that kind of goes over this PowerPoint presentation. I see I have one more question. For those looking to take the test in October, will the option for LSAT Flex still be available? I do not know. We're not even sure about the August test right now. We're really just taking it day by day and making the decision at the last possible moment that we feel we can. What this means is that more than likely, because of state regulations that are currently going on, the August test will probably be the LSAT-Flex, because trying to get a location and then utilize social distancing and all of that just to take the test in person, there may not be enough time. But again, we are making those decisions last minute because we have to do our cancellations or get everything squared away ahead of time. So it could be possible by October that the LSAT Flex is no longer available. But then again, it still may be, depending on the situation that we're all and the state regulations that we're going through. Another question is, once your fee waiver ends, do all of your uploaded documents on the CAS disappear? No. So your CAS is good for 5 years. Once you pay that $195, or if you get the fee waiver and that $195 is waived, that's yours. We do it once, it's good. You can come back and add to it or utilize it during any time. Do note that at least previously, we had a 5-year expiration on the CAS evaluation. But if you contact us at that 5-year point, you can have us extend it, and we'll go ahead and extend that free of charge. We'll just basically roll it out a little bit further. Some reason people do this is they didn't enroll in law school when they thought they would. Life circumstances come up, like COVID, which has delayed some people from enrolling into law school, or they're still debating whether or not they want to enroll this year, as well as they may want to utilize this service if they're going to transfer from one law school to another. They just contact us, we'll send another report, they just pay that report fee of $45, and then that's done. So it's just a one-time CAS fee for the JD program. If you end up looking into LLM or other degrees, that is a completely different process, and there's a different fee, but it's like half of the, I think it's like around $80 for that one. Can you repeat how we get to the site that shows our likelihood of getting into law school? Of course, I recommend, like I was saying, to utilize the Google search option. And what I would say is, if you just type in LSAC's UGPA and LSAT score search tool, or it'll give it to you the very first option. So I'll give you a minute if you want to copy that down. But yeah, plug that into a Google or search engine, and it should be one of the first choices. That's the easiest way. Or if you're on lsac.org, you can utilize our search tool as well. When can we register times for the July test? I think you mean, when do you actually want to take the test, like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., etc. Because obviously the signing up for the July test has already started. We usually send that information out a week or two before the test date. So you'll receive an email from us saying you can now go in and pick your day and time, because we usually give you 2 days, as well as a multitude of different times that you can select. One thing to remember is when selecting a time for your July LSAT Flex, it asks you what time zone will you be taking the test in. And if that time zone is different from the one that your laptop is registering, it will give you a little notification saying there's a discrepancy between the two. It's just there to make sure that you are choosing the right time, or the time that you would like. If that doesn't answer your question, please submit another one, but I think that's what you meant. If I transferred AP credits on my college transcript, should I submit my high school transcript to account for those AP classes? We do not need those. We basically need any credits that are counted towards your degree. So the AP basically will go onto your degree granting school under transfer credits, and it'll show a section that says AP. We don't need the high school to send us anything of those. Your undergrad that marks them as AP classes is perfectly fine. When I made my LSAC account, I didn't include my middle name or my SSN. Is that an issue? I know it's a little complicated. Is it an issue? No. If you don't, it's not required that you add your social security number. It's not required that you have your middle name. All that does is it makes it easier for us to match the information on our side with the law school. So the only time there's really any issue is when the name you give us doesn't match the name that you give the law school. But if you utilize your LSAC account number on all of your law school applications, it's usually a good match. A lot of times what will happen is people will sign up with lsac.org with one name, and then either they get married, they change their name for other purposes, etc. And then when they apply to the law school, they use that new last name. And even though the LSAC number is the same and the first name is the same, there could still be a matching issue. It's easily resolved with the law schools, but sometimes that does slow down the process. So if at any time a law school says that they don't have your information and you know you sent it, just have the law school contact us and we can look to see where the hang-up is. If you don't have a quiet environment to take the LSAT-Flex, what options are available? So this is a really good question. So basically for the LSAT-Flex, if you don't have the equipment, contact us. If you don't have a quiet space, contact us. Two things with the quiet space. One, we can either make a notation so that the proctor for your specific test knows about it, so they will keep that in mind while they are evaluating you while you take the test, or there is a reimbursement program. Depending on your situation, we could reimburse a partial fee for a hotel or a location that does have a quiet space. So if you know that you definitely do not have a quiet environment, contact us. We'll talk you through it and we'll figure out the best option for you and us. Has the registration date for the October test been posted yet? No, it hasn't, and I'm not sure when to expect that registration. And a lot of this is due to the COVID and us not knowing if we're giving out the LSAT Flex or if we're doing the tests in person. So a lot of this information with upcoming tests is going to be delayed compared to usual. So just keep checking online. We'll update the website as much as we can, and we are definitely looking to resolve everything as quickly as possible. If you had approved disability accommodations for the SAT and college, is it likely that you'll be approved for the LSAC? Yes, for the most part, if you've had accommodations previously, more than likely when you complete the application and submit the supporting documents, you'll probably receive exactly what you received previously. Again, if you have any questions, our assessments department, that's all they deal with. So you can contact them at any time, complete your application. That is another application that I recommend submitting as early as possible. One, so you notify us so that we can make whatever accommodations that are necessary, whether it's anything from extended time, braille, paper and pencil, etc. But it also just reassures you that that process is complete and you get what you were expecting. If you had, oh, just did that one, sorry. Is it possible to get a copy of this PowerPoint? Unfortunately, I am not allowed to share my PowerPoint. And I know somebody asked earlier about the recorded session. Talk to your pre-law advisor. I'm gonna have to speak with her. I forget if we said that she was going to post this or not, but I'll figure that out, and I forget if I have all my paperwork completed for that. So sorry, I don't have an answer for you, but it's possible, so we'll see. Once an account expires, do you keep test scores? Is it possible to recover test scores from over 5 years? You cannot recover test scores from over 5 years. So once it's 5+1. It's like 5 plus an application cycle. We purge everything, all scores in June. So if your 5 years expires before June, it would be taken off your account, which also means it's taken off of your CAS report. So if you took one test and then you took a second test like 6-10 years later, it would only show that most recent score because the other score was purged from your account. What are the picture requirements to take the LSAT test? I'm assuming you mean ID. So it's any kind of federal ID. So they're going to ask you to show a picture of like your driver's license, your identification, and then they'll want to match that to a picture of you. And then, you know, when you sign up for a test, you put in your full name, you also upload a picture of yourself there. So that's a lot of the picture requirements that are required for the LSAT test. Another question is, will we need to include transcripts from study abroad? So with the study abroad, we only require transcripts if it is equivalent to over 1 year at your institution. So no, you know, the minimum credits that an average institution could have per semester might be like 15 or 12. So if you take 12 and 12, that'd be 24. So if you're doing study abroad, that would be the minimum. Obviously, if you're doing the max, sometimes it's 18, so 18 and 18 is 36, so you'd have to have over 36 credits for us to require transcripts. But typically, most people just study abroad for 1 semester or 1 full year, and we don't require those. Some are required by the law school that you're applying to, but as far as us and the information that we're using, we do not require it. So now I'm going to go ahead and share some information about the CAS report that the law schools see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video for this so I can utilize some of the other features. Okay. So basically what we're seeing here is the top portion of your CAS report. So we're obviously going to put your name as well as, oops, hold on 1 second. Here we go. Okay. We're going to add your name. And so what's going to happen is the first time your CAS report is sent out, this update reason right here, you know, is going to be blank. So know that the very first time it'll be blank because it's just that. If for any reasons you send in a new letter of recommendation, updated transcripts, etc., that is basically the information that we are going to post right here to notify the law school that another CAS report came in and this is the reason why. Also, in this kind of background area, it's just that small little snippet of who you are, which institution you came from, if you graduated. Now, do know this graduation date is what you submit. So this could also be in the future. So if a law school does receive this, it could say 2020, 2021, etc. It's just whatever you put there. We don't do anything from the transcript evaluation. We basically just take your word for it and assume that what you are telling us is correct. So also, you will see that there is notes from the transcripts. So this basically is there in case in case there's any kind of academic honors or any other notification, as well as disciplinary actions. That will all be shown in this section. So now the section below this is going to be well, this isn't directly below this, but this is towards the bottom. And since I already have it pulled up, we'll kind of go over this. This is all of the information about the LSAT tests that you took. What it'll show is each individual score that you received, as well as the matching score band and percentile and the test date that you took. Also note that we do give law schools the average, even though the majority of them just focus their decision or scholarships on the highest LSAT that you have. And also note that the score band, when you initially take it, basically says that we know that this is a test and there's not going to be one solid score that's going to be the predictor of your ability. But typically people that take the exam score anywhere within 3 points above or 3 points below if they took the test multiple times. And what you can see here is that's kind of true. Like the first test that this person took was a 156, so their score band was 153 to 159, but then the last test they took, they got up to a 162. And what's going to happen is that's just going to kind of shorten that score band that we show to the law schools. Someone's asking, how would you handle postgraduate short-term certificate programs spanning several semesters with grades? So anything that's a certificate or that's not going towards your first bachelor's degree is not required by us. But if you submit it, we will add it to your CAS report. So it'll become supplemental pages in that report. So the law schools can evaluate that and take that into consideration. So now over here, you can see there's the undergraduate summary. What I want to point out here is this says degree summary, but no, this is not the major that you had at your school. This means the school that you received your degree from. So note that if you went to community college for a semester, year or two, this GPA could be different from your cumulative GPA, because the cumulative GPA is exactly that. We're taking in all of your courses from community college and the degree granting school. One thing that I want to point out here is the non-punitive mention. So this is basically for anything that people are withdrawing from their course ahead of time, pass, fail. As long as it's a non-punitive course, we do not calculate it in your GPA. If for whatever reason your registrar does say that it was a punitive course, then we would put that on your transcripts, on our evaluation as an F, and I'll get into that section shortly after this. Right below this, you'll see the numbers of letters of recommendation. Do note that here it says evaluation, but ignore evaluations. Those are not being utilized anymore. We had those for a couple years, and the law schools didn't feel they were very valuable, so we removed those, and now we just focused on the letters of recommendation. Also note that we do let schools know if you enrolled in a law school previously. So if you did enroll in a law school and either you withdrew on your own, you were academically dismissed, etc., we do put which law school you were at previously. And then of course, if there's any kind of misconduct on your file, that'll be a notation here, and then all of the documentation will be in the CAS report for the law schools to review. So this section here is basically the very, very bottom of the CAS report. And this again is just kind of giving your information, your name, which school you graduated from, and when the law school report was generated. We also notify the school if they applied to that school previously. So we put in here the semester and the year that they applied. So how is Wellesley's prior grade deflation policy reported or taken into account? Good question, and you're leading me up to my next slide, I think. Here we go. So this is basically the information that we show the law schools so they can kind of compare degree schools with another degree school. What we do here is we basically take information from, obviously we cannot compare you to people that are necessarily currently in your class, because then the information would be changing. What we do is utilize information from people that have previously enrolled in your institution. And you can see here, this is where we show the law school if people that took the LSAT previously, where they scored. So you can see that 16 people from this institution that applied to law school previously received 90, whereas in the 95th percentile and above, and that's for the LSAT. Now we're getting into the percentage distribution by GPA, and this is where the law school can compare your application, your GPA, to people that previously applied to law school from your institution. So you can kind of get a nice little look here that this might be about where half of those people lied. Now remember, this is not going to be everybody from your institution, because we do not have transcripts or information on them. We only have information on people that have previously applied or sent in transcripts for their CAS report. And this information is widely known to the law school, so they know that this is not a blanket information on people from your institution, but this is for people that have previously applied and or enrolled in law school. So this is where they can tell if a lot of schools have major grade inflation or not. And again, they'll compare this and go through your course descriptions, as well as look at what level of courses you are taking. So sometimes people in their last year or last semester might not take all the higher division. They'll kind of pad it with some of the lower division courses. That's when the law schools will look at your physical transcript and see what you did that year. So, let's see. The next thing that I wanted to share was going to be kind of an overview of applicants year by year GPA. So typically what we will do is for every year, we will label the year that you were at the institution, which institution you were at, as well as the number of semester hours, and then your cumulative GPA, and then we do a cumulative GPA across the board at the bottom. So this is where the law schools can quickly get a look at what your grades were semester by semester or year by year. And this is where they can obviously see 3.3, 3.6, 3.7. So this person was on that increased trend. What they can also do is compare that to the cumulative GPA over those 3 years and also see that it was another increase. What's nice is to give them an idea of where you stand. What we do is we have a cumulative GPA percentile rank. Now remember, this information is only with people that we have previously recorded their GPA for. So this kind of gives the law school an idea that this person, when graduating, was probably around the top 27th percentile of their class or school. So what's nice is this is where it'll help enhance those letters of recommendation where your professor could say, this student was in the top 5% of students that I've taught, top 20%. So it's really just kind of reinforcing the information that they're seeing here. Another piece that they can kindly look at or quickly look at is, where all of your grades, this will be the total, and then where all of your grades, A's, B's, did you have anything in this section? And now one thing that I do want to go over is this unconverted portion. So I know that your school has shadowing grades. So as long as the institution makes that first semester on your transcript a pass, no pass, what we do is we put them here in the unconverted. So that means that we do not put them in your undergraduate GPA calculation. What does happen though is if there was those punitive grades that I was mentioning earlier, that's when they will get calculated in this area. So it could end up anywhere over here. The question is, will GPA for your major be considered? Not for LSAC's purposes. We do not calculate that. We do not post that anywhere, but typically it is on an undergraduate undergraduate transcripts. So when the law school goes past this first page and starts looking at your actual transcript going course by course, typically on those transcripts, it will show you what your actual major GPA was. So what you can typically do, I think you can get an unofficial copy by signing in, or you can get an official copy from your registrar's office. So that would be an option to see what is actually posted and what is shared. So I have another question about, what about our mid-semester grades from COVID time period? Great question. So with anybody that is taking courses during this time, like this spring, and a lot of institutions are going to pass, fail, allowing students to choose if they want a course to be pass, fail, if they want to receive the letter grade, etc. So there's all these different options depending on the institution that you're at. The law schools are aware of this. We're aware of this. So basically all we as LSAC are going to do is report the information the same way that your institution reports it. So if it's pass, no pass, it's going to be logged into the unconverted section. If you take grades for it, we will put it into the grading section that you received and calculate it going forward. What we will also do is make a notation on your CAS report, like with a little asterisk saying, during the spring of 2020. Please remember, this was a time during COVID. A lot of institutions instituted a pass-fail policy, etc. So that will always be in your file, and whether you apply now, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, we've made notations in our system about this, and will update law schools on that accordingly. All right. For those who have been out of undergrad for 10 plus years, are they considered non-traditional candidates, and will LSAC make note of that somewhere for consideration? So we won't necessarily make a notation that you are a non-traditional student. What we do is, let me see if I can find that option again. Here we go. What we do is we make that notation here. So let me see if I can get rid of my previous notes. So right here, if you graduated 10 years ago, it would show just like this. Your university, bachelor's degree, 502. 10 years ago, 510, etc. So that's where, that's where we make this notation about when you attended, and then as well as what major you enrolled in, and again, the major you select. So try and find something that best matches the degree that you receive at your institution. If you feel there's something completely different than what we have in our system, you can let us know. We can always add it. That may take a while, or there's another option for unknown. And then of course you have the law school application as well as your resume to just type form what that degree is. All right, so that's pretty much what I have for this presentation. If you guys have any more questions, I have some more time and we can go over those as well. If not, you guys are free to enjoy the rest of your night. But I'll give it a couple more minutes just in case anybody wants to see some information that I previously discussed. If you have any feedback, I'm willing to take that constructive criticism as well. Feel free to use the anonymous option. But again, thank you all for your time, and I appreciate you inviting me to give you this little webinar. Okay. The GPA chart. Could I go over that once more? Which one? The one with the report that all of the law schools are seeing? Okay, give me 1 second. Is this the chart that you're referring to? The one that goes year by year with your breakdowns of A's, B's, C's, or were you talking more about the ones with the percentiles where it shows how many people from your institution graduated with a 3.4? Yes, okay. Okay, so here is the information on those percentiles. So what's going to happen here is basically we are comparing you to other people that graduated from your institution that applied for either CAS or signed up for a test during the time that you were in undergrad. So if you were in school, I'm just going to make up some numbers, 14, 15, and 17, and then this person signed up for an LSAT test or the CAS service during 14, 15, or 17, even though they graduated even back in 2000, then we would add them to this chart with your information. So you could see that that person that signed up for CAS or took the test while you were at your university received percentile in like the 80th percentile. And then this is also where they would compare you with that same person to the GPA they received. So if they were in the 3.2 to 3.39, they would show that there was about 25 people. Now again, for us to do a lot of this ranking with the percentiles, either for the LSAT, the GPA, as well as that previous ranking, like whether you were in the top 25% of the class, et cetera, we do need a set number of people. So if there's only 3 people, 10 people, we're not going to put this calculation on your report because our psychometricians have informed us it's not enough information to give some decent statistics on. Again, the law schools know that this is only a piece of the pie, and there are many other people from your university, but it's just something that they can see to get a decent idea of where you fall within your institution. So if you're more at the top, towards the bottom, and of course this goes into consideration with your major as well. I hope that helped. A question was, do unconverted credits count towards total credits? I have heard concerns that rising seniors may not have enough grades to apply to law school because they don't have 60 credits in graded courses. So for us, we need at least 60 credits, and the unconverted does count towards those. So as long as you're taking those classes, pass, no pass, we will utilize that to calculate a cumulative GPA. If it falls under those 60 credits, we just leave it blank, and it's more or less counted as a null, or yeah, not a zero, but a null. So you can still go to a law school, graduate as long as you get the degree from the institution. It just won't have a calculated cumulative GPA. Another question is, just to confirm, will the LSAT-Flex score be treated the same way as the LSAT score? Both will be valid for 5 years. So with LSAC, the LSAT-Flex and the conventional digital LSAT will be valid for 5 years. As far as how the schools view this, I'm not sure. The only discussions that we've all had right now is just in regards to the fall, but we are keeping in contact with them. And right now, everybody's saying, all of the law schools are saying they're treating the LSAT Flex score the same as the conventional LSAT score. One thing that I would recommend, whether it's LSAT Flex versus a conventional digital LSAT, if you have any kind of significant increase in your score, it is always best practice to let the institution, to let the law school know, what did you do differently for that large leap? Sometimes those leaps could be more practice time, you got more sleep. Sometimes it's cheating. The law schools need to know, otherwise they can ask us to re-review, and we'll go back through that test to look for things. But for the most part, typically it's a lot of people will go in and take the test either cold or they'll get sick, and since they've been practicing, they still want to take that exam. So the best thing to do is take it when you're ready, but also if you have any significant increase in scores, you should let the schools that you are applying to know what you did differently to achieve that higher score, which basically helps solidify why they should focus on the high. All right, thank you guys. I'll give it one more minute. If we don't have any more questions, I will go ahead and end this webinar. But again, thank you all for your time and appreciate it. All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.